Hello and welcome to today's session on the language of radio. So whenever we talk of radio, one thing that, keeps coming in our mind, that whether this radio is still a popular medium. Okay, let me give you an example. The Honorable Prime Minister of our country, Mr. Narendra Modi, is on air every month with his program Mann Ki Baat. I mean, it is aired on All India Radio, all channels. So why Mr. Narendra Modi is doing so if radio had not been a very popular medium? Radio is indeed one of the most popular mediums of our country. If we compare it with newspaper or television, we can see that radio has certain niche qualities, characteristics of its own, which makes it different from the rest of the medium. In this age, when we have the internet in our hand, we need not wait for any other thing happening. But then, radio, All India Radio, the official broadcaster of India, reaches 98.25% of the population of our country. And mind it, India is the world's second largest populated country. Well, one survey shows that there are around 111 million radio sets in Indian household. So here we can understand the penetration of radio. Apart from that, radio, like any other medium, is a business medium, right? You need to earn your revenue. So it is also very important for the advertisers. 3% of national advertising budget is kept for radio. So this also shows us that what amount of popularity radio till date has. With the advent of FM channels, radio, the concept of radio programming has diversified. There are a lot many things which we are getting new in the FM channels, right? And that also makes radio one of the most sought after medium. First of all, radio is an audio medium, and All India Radio broadcasts programs in 24 languages and 140 dialects. Right? Why I'm telling you this? Because from here we can understand the next point, that is reach. Right? So 140 dialects you can understand, to every nook and corner of our country. And the portability of the medium, it also makes radio very, very easy to carry, easy to handle kind of a medium, right? And the mobility, suppose a farmer walking in the field can carry a radio, right? At the same time, it is a very cost-effective medium. When we talk about cost-effectiveness, what do we mean? Every production, whether it is television program production or it is radio program production or anything that we try to develop requires a lot of money, right? And for that we need advertisers, we need sponsorships, etc., etc. Radio is one of the most cost-effective medium because the technology which is used in radio is very cost-effective, right? The speed of radio. It is very important in today's world to keep ourselves updated with information. So radio is a medium which, even in an entertainment program can disseminate some kind of very important information. The other important characteristics, it is a very energy efficient medium. In today's world where we are talking so much about greenhouse effect, we are talking so much about pollution, radio is one medium which consumes minimum energy. You just need 2 cells, 2 batteries, right? So in that way also it is very energy effective. At the same time, when we are doing a program sitting in a television studio, if we have nothing but we have, big lights, a radio studio doesn't need that big light. All we need is light with the help of which we can see, we can operate the console, the machines, etc. So there also we are saving a lot. To understand the characteristics of radio, we need to understand the different type of stations. One is commercial, one is non-commercial. Commercial where, the private owned stations, right? Like Radio Mirchi, Radio 1, Power FM, what are they? They survive on the advertisement revenue that they collect. Otherwise, how are they going to survive? And non-commercials which are funded by maybe the government, maybe NGOs, where advertisement is not a very important part. So that is, in a nutshell, that is what the two different types of radio stations are. Another important point here is AM and FM. You must be knowing, right? Amplitude modifier and frequency modulation. Now, it was actually AM which was running in Indian broadcasting system, right? In 2001, FM was introduced, private FM was introduced. Before that, Akashvani introduced their FM channels, right? So private FM was introduced, and now if we listen to radio technologically, we will find that the FM channels are far more sophisticated, clear, and technically they are much more updated compared to the other one. Every medium, whether it is television, radio, cinema, every medium is targeted towards a certain audience, and we have to understand the characteristics of the audience for whom I am doing the program, and based on that we will start using the language. In radio, we only have language, and this reminds me of a very popular song by Boyzone. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. That's what we, the radio presenters, I mean the people who work for radio, we have. That is the only weapon. So there, understanding the target audience is very important. When we talk about primetime radio, what we mean the morning hours. Even to be a bit more categorical, the driving hours, morning and again in the evening, afternoon, right? Say 8 o'clock, not even 8, even before that, 7 to 9, 9:30, and then 4 to 7:30. That's a prime time because everybody on the move, and this is a kind of lifestyle now, you just switch on your radio on the car and you move. So there we need to understand for whom we are actually trying to cater our program. Then the next thing is the program timing. 6 o'clock in the morning, you would not like to hear kind of hard rock, metal, heavy metal, right? For that, we have the evening time or maybe the weekends, right? At the same time, Saturday evening, you're doing a program. So it has to be very, very energetic, where people can feel that, okay, it's time to enjoy. We have worked hard for the entire week. So it's time to, enjoy. It's time to move around with friends and family and all. The other thing that we need to keep in mind while we are writing a script for radio, for any radio for that matter, FM, private FM, Akashvani FM, Kolkata A, Kolkata B, whatever, national channel, is the media house policy. Every media house is a business house, right? So Times FM, that is Radio Mirchi, Times Network, they have their own policy, the policy regarding the political scenario, economic scenario, everything. Akashvani, Prasar Bharati have their, fixed rules and regulation policies beyond which you cannot write. Radio 1, they have their own stuff. So every media house has their own policy. As a writer for radio, because what you write, the presenter is going to present it. So as a writer of radio, you need to be fully aware of that. Not only that, we need to also understand certain public sentiments. I just cannot write something because I am a kind of a bohemian in nature, I'm very revolutionary in nature, and I write something which is difficult for the public to digest, right? So here, we need to keep in mind certain ethics, certain aesthetics, so that the media house policy, public sentiments, public understanding, and the government policy, right? Indian government has very set rules and regulations for the broadcasting medium. And the other one, which is very important, is the program theme and topic. Suppose I'm doing a program on portrait parlor. You know what is this? It's like drawing the portrait of a suspected convict based on the narration of an eyewitness. Yeah. So in that case, what do we do, right? If it is a news, then what do we do? So let us listen to a very short snippet of All India Radio News so that we can understand how the radio programs takes place.
The Bharat Bandh called by the opposition has evoked mixed response. The call for the Bandh has been given in protest against Centre's decision on diesel price hike and allowing FDI in multi-brand retail. While protesters disrupted rail and road traffic in parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Odisha, Bandh had little impact in Mumbai. In Uttar Pradesh, Bandh called by the opposition parties, including the ruling Samajwadi Party, has affected normal functioning of day-to-day life in the state. In the national capital, Delhi, most of the markets are closed, but vehicular movement is normal, though protesters block traffic at some places.
Okay, now in this particular news item, why I made you listen to it, as we were talking about radio writing, radio language, whenever we feel like we are about to write something, some invisible writer gets into our mind and we feel like we'll write the best of English, the best of Bengali, the best of Hindi, whatever the language is. But if you have listened to this particular news very carefully, it is very, very to the point. There is no extra fat. If there is extra fat, we got to trim it off, right? So, as I was telling you, what is the theme of the topic? I mean, theme of the program. The theme is nothing. It's a news. It's a general news. So we need not be, very flowery with the language here, because if we become flowery, it's going to have an impact on the understanding of the audience, right? So, target audience, theme, and what am I going to write? All are very, very related to each other. In radio, once I have said something, it's on air. It's on air forever. You cannot, like we do in newspaper, we read something we don't understand, we reread it, or we keep it aside. That maybe with a lot of time we'll do. In TV also, there is a backup of the visuals. But radio is only your ears and what you say. So it has to be a very conversational in style. Whenever somebody speaks on radio, what do we feel? We feel like that person is speaking to me, right? You think of your favorite radio presenter. You would feel that that person is talking to me. So it has to be very, very conversational in style. The writing should be able to give you a kind of visual, right? From where you can imagine your own way what is the thing they are talking about from the other side of radio. It has to be concise. I mean, too much of talking from where the sentence starts and where it ends, no. Complex sentences, no. Simple, to the point, and in a very colloquial way, not slangs. When I mean to say colloquial language, it is not something which is not up to the mark, but the way we talk generally. Radio is not the medium where I'll show how good I am in a particular language. You have to be energetic. It should not it should not be like that, when I listen to my presenter, I feel yawning. No, there must be a bit of experimentation, right? You do something new every time with your words, with your language. It's like jugglery of words. We have seen the jugglers in the circus, but it's like jugglery of words in the radio. And be thoughtful. Let me give something to my audience worth giving, something cerebral. I mean, I don't say something because somebody else does it, right? I'll make you listen to one very interesting program now, but then if I try to be like that, I won't be able to do it. So let me think, let me understand, and let me give something that the audience can carry it forward, right? It remains with them, right? Concrete instead of abstract, right? It's a beautiful sunny morning. Right? Wow, what a morning. I mean, maybe it's a very nice morning, but I'm inside doing something I would not understand. Right? So, very concrete. It's a sunny morning outside. That is it. We will not do something which will have a dual meaning. Right? We will not generally do anything. We'll have action words, verbs, and with adjectives. Let us be very, very, very careful. It is a too long road. No, it's a long road. Isn't it? I mean, we have to cut those extra fats, as I was telling you. Right? Or we need to understand the voice. We will not use passive voice. We'll always use active voice. Those sounds a bit grammatical, grammar classes for you, but then we need to understand it. We need to keep in mind that I cannot say this is a particular music composed at an altitude of 2,500 meters. No. So and so composed this music sitting at an altitude of such and such meter. I mean, so that I can visualize. As I was telling, abstract, I think I've done a wonderful job. My audience understand nothing. Abstract can be used in the audio-visual medium, but not in the radio.
Yeah, this does bring a question to my mind, is that when we are talking about the language used by the presenters, there's a stark difference between that used by the AIR presenters and that used by the FM presenters. So,
I mean, you mean to say the private FM presenters?
The private
right?
FM presenters.
Because AIR also have two FM
Obviously.
channels of their own. Yes, to a certain extent, yes. Because see, AIR is guided by Prasar Bharati, isn't it? So anything under the government autonomous body, you can understand will have certain rules and regulations, number one. Number two, the penetration of AIR, the reach of AIR is much, much beyond the FM reach. I mean, even FM of AIR, this Rainbow and Gold FM of AIR, they also have a limited reach. So as the private FM channels, right? With the advent of private FMs, you know, the language of radio has been revolutionized. They have changed it. They have actually done a lot of experimentation. Some very good, some okay. I mean, it depends upon the audience, how they take it. But then the group of audience AIR caters to are more like, AIR is like a tradition. Isn't it? Like earlier it was like if somebody is doing a program on AIR, that person used to be a celebrity, right? So it's a tradition, it's a heritage. At the same time, AIR has actually, you know, come up a lot, keeping pace with the private FM channels. And if you listen to their programs nowadays, FM programs, they have a lot of, you know, interesting things to do. And when it is the private FM, I mean, they have no boundary. The walls their stage, and they can do a lot of things. For example, there is one program on some of the private channels. I believe it is in Radio Miti, which makes prank calls.
yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
I mean, it's fun, it is hilarious for people of young age. But then think of my father. If he ever gets a prank call, I mean, he would be like shocked like anything. So AIR will never do that, right? AIR will never broadcast something on star signs. But every private FM channel has. Yeah. So it depends on the media house policy. English is same, Bengali is same. How am I going to use it depends on the policy,
Obviously.
right? But then everybody has something cerebral to cater to the audience, right? Now we'll listen to one very interesting radio documentary, BBC radio documentary on some female soccer players of Dharmshala, right? Let us listen to it first and then we will move on.
Welcome to Dharmashala in the foothills of the Indian Himalaya, where in 1959 the Dalai Lama established his government in exile. And this morning, a group of young Tibetan women enjoy a game of soccer.
My name is Lamukhi. I'm 19 years old. I'm a Tibetan and my dream is one day to play football for Tibet in the FIFA Women's World Cup. Tonight we are taking a long distance bus to Dehradun for a 4-week soccer training camp.
In their modest cinder block home, Lamukhi packs her bags for soccer camp while Mom prepares tea. Among her treasured possessions, a photo of her brother, the activist Setan Dorje, who disappeared over 2 years ago after a peace march to the Tibet-Nepal border.
He was marching for the freedom of Tibet. The Nepal army didn't allow us to go inside Nepal. They took out the gun to my brother. My brother even said that it's okay if you kill him, but not me and my mom. Now I play football for him.
Lamukhi returns to her packing. Further down the mountain, tour manager Cassie Childers pauses for a while at the Dalai Lama's temple.
Okay, now after listening to this, what comes to your mind? A very brief description of Dharmshala. Yes. Can you visualize how the presenter, I mean, and you see, I was talking about experimentation. Can you ever think of a radio presenter going to Dharmshala and making a documentary on female soccer players, taking their interviews, and, you know, people who are going to compete in some of the major soccer events, right? And the description of Dharmshala this presenter has given. That is how you make your radio language, you know, descriptive, visual, with a visual effect, so that people can see something from the presenter's eyes, from the writer's eye. I see from your eyes. That is the beauty of radio programming. As far as the language is concerned, we have just, touched upon the basic points. One very important thing here is that, somebody writes, somebody reads. Most of the time, it is the script writer who presents. These days, basically, it is the script writers who presents, right? And there we need to keep a very, concrete check on the diction, pronunciation. Like I, the pronunciation of I and double E. Fill and feel. Flower and phosphorus. Right? F and PH. We make all, we do a heavy with all these things, right? Even, in English, in vernaculars, any language you take, we do not understand. We think that whatever we say, that's fantastic. My, voice is going on air. I'm a celebrity. No, I'm not. So, all these things are very, very important. Let me play a very interesting, snippet from one of the most celebrated radio jockeys, Mr. Jimmy Tangri. Let's listen to it first.
I'm Jimmy on the hot seat all the way past 2 o'clock today. And tonight we're going to be sharing all the closeness, all the warmth, all the love. All you beautiful people have shared over the years on Dil Se. Any memories you can recount, any thoughts, any incident, any feelings, please call in at 66935935. Share it with us.
Okay, this is one of the most popular programs of Jimmy Tangri, right? Where you come up with a request and he plays songs and he's got a wonderful voice, right? We grew up listening to him and he's still, going strong. Whatever he's saying is very normal, is like we talk every day. It sounds very simple, but it is not. Because doing something simple is perhaps the most difficult task, right? We can use a lot of big words, difficult words, right, from the Oxford Dictionary. But then something very simple which comes and directly, hits you in your heart, that is what is important. As I was telling you, conversational, one-to-one, as if Mr. Tangri is playing something for me, as if he knows what I want to listen right at the moment. This is very, very important in radio. Unless and until the radio programming cannot be a very popular one. Now this time let us listen something from another veteran in Hindi, Mr. Amin Sayani.
आहा, आपका जाना पहचाना संगीत गूंजा और देखिए जाग उठी मधुर मशहूर फिल्म संगीत के बचपन और जवानी की यादें.
Well, from this very popular genre of radio programming, this is first time maybe when All India Radio went commercial with this Binaka Geet Mala. And Amin Sayani was a household name. What made him household name? The linear text of radio. You see, it's simple, to the point. There is no complexity. But there is something, which actually embraces everybody. Lot of warmth, isn't it? Okay, now when we talk about warmth, when we talk about this kind of abstract things, you might think that this is in the approach, but this is in the approach of writing as well, right? The kind of words, the selection of words, it is also there. So this is very, very important. Radio language has to be oral and linear in its approach. Simple, to the point, and without any hanky-panky, right? I will not have any inner meaning to it because I am not being able to give any kind of visual support to my audience, right? Now, another reference I would like to give you this time from Voice of America program, right? Let me read it out to you. You see, this is a program which is telecast on Voice of America Empowerment Channel, where they do a program on women, right? And the name is Inspiring Women. And you see, if you read the transcript that I have given you here, it says that you have heard of Hillary Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, Sonia Sotomayor, and Meg Whitman. But there are many inspiring women who are not as well known, women who have touched our lives forever. And there's a kind of introduction, right? And then the program starts. The program doesn't, feature Hillary Clinton. The program doesn't feature anybody who has a big name. But with them, the presenter very, very carefully takes you to the flow of the program and introduces people, common people from our day-to-day life who are doing something worthwhile, something that needs to be shared with our audience, right? That is very, very important. Unless and until we actually hold the hand of our audience and help them to follow a path with me, radio writing is not at all successful. Right? Radio writing is a passion. Radio writing doesn't happen overnight. Right? Yes. For that, I need to have a very good grip on my language, whether it is English, whether it is Bengali, Hindi, Oriya, Assamese, whatever the language is. I have to have a kind of, relationship with my language. I should be able to play with words. At the same time, I should be able to nurture new things, new ideas. I mean, for a radio programmer, there is no dearth of topic, there is no dearth of theme. What they lack is the passion. And if you can develop that passion towards that medium, we can actually do a lot of stuff. So what we need before we sign off in the language of radio, we need passion, we need imagination, writing skills, voice modulation, of course, pronunciation and diction, and last but not the least, this is very important, more and more listening to radio programs. Whether it is BBC Radio, whether it is Voice of America, whether it is FM channels, the private FM and the Akashvani FM, All India Radio FM, all types of radio programs. And these days it is just on, in the tip of your finger. You can do it in your mobile phone, on the satellite radios available on the internet, and of course, the traditional radio set. Well, that's it and that's all in today's session. I hope the session was useful to you all. Thank you.